I want to preview the national championship game and predict it as well for Division One FBS football in the last year to 14 college football playoff. Who do I think is going to win? And first of all, I'm going to go break it down statistically for both of these teams. And the game will be played on January 8th at 6:30 p.m. Central Time on ESPN. Currently, Michigan's favored by 4.5. Don't the odds makers know that Washington has won the last few games as an underdog? Clearly, last two, clearly not. Now, the last time that Michigan won a national championship in football that was claimed was 1997. I'm not going by unclaimed at all, but even then, it would have been longer than what they really claimed anyway. So now Washington, on the other hand, they do have a claimed. The last time they got a championship was 1991, and that was claimed. So only two national titles that are claimed by Washington. Just two. And Michigan has 11 of those. First, I'll go over the stats for the 2 seed Washington, which hopefully their running back Dylan Johnson plays, because he got hurt last game and he's expected to play. Expected, and that's huge. Offensively, 37.6 points per game while they allow 24.1. 332 first downs for Washington on offense, but 316 for the opponent. Rushing yards per game, 123.6 to 137.1. You give up a game. Passing yards per game, 350 passing yards per game, and 267.07, which is 0.1 really allowed. Time possession, 30 minutes, 8 seconds for Washington, while 29 minutes, 52 seconds for the opponent. Third down conversion, 46.54% on 159 attempts. And then 39.9% on third downs for the opposing team on 198 attempts. But fourth down, 70.59% on fourth down on 17 attempts. While the opponent has attempted 36 times, however, they only got 41.67%. Now I'm going to go over the tackles for loss and everything. 62 tackles for loss for the Washington defense, while the offense only allows 49. 21 sacks, which is not a lot for the Washington defense, but they only allowed 11, and they gave up nothing last game in terms of sacks. That's the thing. 16 interceptions for the defense, while they have thrown 10 interceptions, but 67 pass breakups for the Washington defense, while they allowed 33. 30 quarterback hurries for the Washington defense, 32 allowed. 4 fumble recoveries out of 6 forced fumbles on defense, but the opposing team for Washington, against Washington, 8 fumble recoveries out of 9 forced. They have blocked the kick this year, but they allowed 2 blocks. But they also have 2 safeties on defense, but none allowed. Now, special teams wise, 40 punts for 1,639 yards, which is an average of 40.98 or close to 41 yards. Longest 55 yards, 11 of those inside the 20. 4 of those over 50 yards. Now, field goals, 16 for 20, 6 for 6 on 20 to 29, 44 for 7 on 30 to 39, 6 for 7 on 40 to 49, and the longest 47 yards. And one of those field goals was blocked. So that's that on the Washington side of things. Now, obviously, as we all know, Washington has won a lot of games within 10 points this year, similar to TCU of last year. Very similar. Now, Michigan, as we all know, they don't have a lot of close games like Alabama, obviously, Ohio State, Maryland, Penn State, that's all within 10 points right there. That's only other games. Offensively, Michigan, 36 points per game, 10.21 allowed. 282 first downs to 182 for the opposing team. 159.5 rushing yards per game while allowed 93.1. That's a good number. 218.93 passing yards per game while the opponent has 150 per game. So something's got to give in terms of Michigan's pass defense versus Washington's pass offense. Something has to give. Time possession, 32 minutes, 27 seconds. For Michigan's offense, the opponent, 27 minutes, 33 seconds. 44.79% on third down on 163 attempts. 30.22% on 182 attempts for the opponent. Now fourth down, 80.95% on 21 attempts and 32.14% on 28 attempts. Now I'm going to go over the sacks and all that in tackles for loss. Well, Michigan does have 83 tackles for loss, and they're allowed 45 all year. 38 sacks, which they had 6 against Alabama, mind you, or 5, but 6. 19 of those sacks are allowed by the Michigan's offense. 16 interceptions by the defense, while the opponent has forced 5 against them. 47 pass breakups and quarterback hurries, while the opponent 33 pass breakups and 6 quarterback hurries. 9 fumble recoveries out of 14 forced, while the opponent 3 fumble recoveries out of 5 forced, and 2 block kicks and 2 safeties this year. Now, special teams wise, 48 punts for 112 yards, which is an average of 44 yards. 16 of those were landed inside of 20. 10 of those were longer than 50, and the longest 71, by the way. Now, field goals, 16 for 19, 84 with 2 for 2 on 20 to 29, 8 for 8 on 30 to 39, 3 for 5 on 40 to 49, 3 for 4 on over 50, and the longest 50. I want to say this up front. I would be stunned if this was a blowout either way. I would be. And now, for both teams, you got to stay composed, and you cannot make the same special teams mistakes as last week or last game. But you get the whole point. You got to correct it, because both of you muffed the punt. Michigan, you could have muffed 2 punts. And if you muffed that second one, you were not gonna beat Alabama. I mean, that's the thing. You got to limit penalties across the board, which Michigan did. Washington did to a certain extent, but not as many as Texas. I'll just say that much. You got to make adjustments on the fly, both offensively and defensively, not just quarter to quarter, but drive to drive, or first half to second half, but every play or in every drive too. Now, defensively, don't allow chunk plays. Got to get pressure on the opposing quarterback. Force mistakes. I'm just telling the truth. And it would be good if you force turnovers, and that way your offense has a chance to score. And you got to limit the points off turnovers for the opponent as much as possible. If you do turn the ball over, don't allow any, if any, at all. And like I said, special teams, you got to be a lot better than last game. I'm just saying. You got to punt the ball good. Don't have muff punts. You can't miss field goals. I'm just telling you. You got to block good too, and don't allow deep returns on the punts and kickoffs as well. Kick the ball deep every time. Now, offensively, I'm going to do this more team by team here. Honestly, across the board for both of those teams offensively, you got to take care of the ball. You got to protect the quarterback. You got to find a way to be efficient enough offensively and you got to execute your blocking, both run blocking and pass blocking. And you got to have to make adjustments, like I said, on the play to play, drive to drive, first half, second half, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, I would say if you're Michigan, sometimes your best offense is your best defense is your offense. Keep Washington off the field as much as possible. And try to get this game in the 20s. Because I do think if Michigan doesn't allow 30 points or more, they're going to have a chance to win the game. Not that they don't if they allow above 30, but you know what I mean. Now, Washington just got to do what you've been doing offensively all year. I'm just telling the truth, and you got to take care of the ball, like I said. And the closest thing that Ohio State defensively, Michigan defensively has seen close to Washington's offense is Ohio State. And they slowed them down. And they forced 2 interceptions. However, I would dare to argue Michael Penix is better than Kyle McCord. And you can't dispute that. Heisman runner-up for a reason. I mean, that's true. And I know Washington, you got to run the ball good enough and all, but really, you got to have Michael Penix be that Superman again. And I think he can deliver. Look what he did against Texas with some tight coverages at times. And it doesn't really faze them if they're third and longs. It doesn't really. Because they converted time and time again. And they faced some good defensive lines. Like Texas, Oregon, Washington, Oregon State. I mean, Washington has faced like Oregon, Oregon State, Utah. That's the thing. And Texas, obviously. Another key for the defense, both these different defenses, is to win in first and second downs and to force third and longs. Obviously, on the offense, you want third and manageable as much as possible, and you got to win first and second down. This is probably the best championship game for all 3 college football playoff games ever. I believe here, and I would be floored and stunned if it was a blowout. I have gone back and forth on this game, and I will say this game kind of has the feels of last year's Michigan versus TCU game in the semifinals from last year. It does. And if Michigan makes a mistake offensively, obviously both these teams need to score points off turnovers. If Michigan does make a mistake offensively, Washington's going to make them pay. They have done that. Look at all their games, what they have done up to this point. And you got to win at the battle line of scrimmage. It's going to be very intriguing between the Washington offensive line and Michigan's defensive line. Because if they can protect Michael Penix, he will carve up some yards and get some points. And they could score quickly, within 2 minutes. And they could also take some time off the clock like they did in the third quarter to only allow Texas to only have 5 plays in that whole quarter. And we know Washington's defense is not as good as Michigan's in all this, but they faced a lot of quality competition offensively, like at the Pac-12 this year in terms of quarterbacks. I just really have a hard time going against the Michigan defense and the Washington offense. Ultimately, guys, I've said this before in the last few minutes or so. I apologize if I repeat myself on this. This feels like Michigan is going to have to do a catch-up game with Washington like they did last year against TCU. And thus, I'm going with Washington in this game, and I wouldn't be shocked either way on this. have a hard time thinking Michigan's not going to allow 30 points or more. Unless they play, slow it down, melt the clock, like 8-minute drive, 5 to 8 minute drives every time. And really, Michigan hasn't faced an offense like this since Ohio State, but I would say Washington's offense is better than Ohio State's. And we know what Washington has faced in terms of defense and everything. And I know they struggled with Arizona. With Arizona State, they only won 15-7. I get it, and 42-33 against Stanford. I get it. It just feels like the vibes of that semifinal game from last year, where I picked Michigan to beat TCU and they didn't beat TCU. This feels like it to me, and that's why I'm going with Washington to win this game, and the score I think will be 35-31. But it wouldn't shock me if Washington found a way to get up to 40 points, though. Not with that offense, and we know Washington has 2,001-yard receivers, and that's going to be hard to stop, and it's not including two other wide receivers above 400 yards, or pass catchers over 400 yards on the year, and even 300 yards or more on the year with three of them. And we know that that Michigan has 1,000-yard rusher and Blake Corum in it, and they do have Donovan Edwards as well with over 400 yards. So, like I said before in this preview and prediction, I'm picking Washington to win this game, and this feels like a pick 'em. And I'm going that way because of last year's vibes against TCU comes to mind against Michigan here. It does, in a way. But I wouldn't be stunned either way. And hopefully this is a really good national championship. And not any controversial calls. Or if there are controversial calls, you got to go out there and make plays to win for both of these teams. Got to find ways to win the game, even if the call is against you. Or even for you, got to leave no doubt. And to come up with big stops when you need to come up with big stops. And Washington has answered every time they've been as an underdog in a game. They have. Now, can they finish it? We'll just have to see what happens on Monday. And hopefully it's better than last year's Georgia versus TCU game. I really hope so. Though I admit I enjoyed it because I don't like TCU, but you get the whole point. Anyways, if you like this content, like and subscribe, and see you guys later on the road to 600 subscribers. Of course, ultimate goal is 1,000 more, so make money out this. Of course, liking the video, comment the video really helps the YouTube algorithm, so more people can see it. Sharing the videos help as well, so more people can watch. And if you're watching and not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. It's free. Hit the notification bell as well. And it's funny that both of these teams here will play next year in the regular season. And I will put the stats in the description below for both of these teams. So, y'all could look at it right before the game starts.